Thanks very much, Dan. So what I want to talk to you about this afternoon is the image processing software that's inside ArcGIS. So a lot of people, when they think about ArcGIS, we don't generally think of ArcGIS as being the image platform. I guess if we go back about 4 or 5 years ago now, Esri made the decision that if you're going to work with GIS data, one of the key things that you want to work with is you want an imagery in the background. And for 80% of the time, that's mostly true. You just want imagery as a backdrop. But there's a group of us out there who actually want to take imagery and we want to perform some serious analysis. So when they started working on ArcGIS Pro, they decided we're going to make this the platform to do image processing. It's GIS software. Let's go the next step. So ArcGIS Pro is really the platform that we're seeing now for doing image processing. But not only that, it's the platform and the environment that we actually start to create image data sets, and it's the environment where we actually start to build imagery across the platform as well, making it available to everyone in my organisation. Essentially, the ArcGIS platform informs you, the end user, to make those decisions that you need. And we see it in 4 principal areas, imagery being used. The first one is in the system of record. So what do I mean by that? Well, it's the space where you actually manage that imagery, where you actually make it available to people inside your organisation. You then move into the system of insight, which a lot of us, you would have seen the stuff that Simon did this morning with the raster functions. That's where you're actually extracting information intelligence out of that image. You're actually working with the imagery and really bringing information out. But what do you want to do with that? It's all right sitting in front of the computer and getting information. You need to go that third step and providing that information then out to your organisation. So this is the new piece inside the imagery space, is taking it from the analysis piece and then taking that analysis and then giving it to your organisation so that they can see it. So the system of engagement. But one of the things we see there is still a piece missing. And the fourth piece is content. Obviously, you can't have image processing software without imagery. Now, most of us today, when we work with imagery, we actually have a hard drive, and we have satellite imagery sitting on that hard drive, and we work with that. But inside the ArcGIS Online space now, and the Living Atlas, we're seeing imagery coming from Digital Globe, we're seeing imagery coming from Aerometrics, we're seeing imagery coming from AAM. We're even seeing imagery coming from Nearmap, and we'll talk a little bit about that for later on this afternoon, all being available through the Living Atlas. You're even seeing drone imagery and LiDAR starting to be made available now. The ArcGIS platform then supports a very, very wide range of data sets, from multispectral, panchromatic. The full motion video is an area that some of us use in the military and the police and public safety space. LiDAR, we started looking at that maybe 5 years ago and including that. And most recently, information coming out of the drones. I spent a lot of my time last year actually working with drones and finding out exactly what you can do with it and what you can't do with it as well. I guess the big thing was at Pro 1.4 now, and that's sort of the 5th version that came out earlier this year, they decided that they would make imagery something that was always on in there. So if you go and have a look inside the Pro space, there's an imagery tab there, and you can get to access to any image functions in there. And you saw Simon use that a little bit this morning in the plenary. If you go and select an image in the table of contents, you immediately get that contextual tab appear, which gives you all the functionality to be able to access that image, enhance it in any way or form. There's also various image processing capabilities inside the desktop environment. So if you're going to go and manage imagery then inside the platform, Esri provides this methodology called mosaic data sets. And some of you who've seen me on the stage before would have heard me talking about that. And it basically allows you to bring large data sets together, mosaic them on the fly, and then do image processing on the fly as well. Mosaic data sets can be used in the desktop, but they also can be taken into the web space and made as a web service or an image service and consumed by the portal, consumed by your phone through web applications, and we can also include other image processing services, and other applications can consume those services. The idea is we're producing and storing masses and masses amount of imagery. If you think about it, that image service can be for 6, 7 images, or it can be 600 terabytes worth of imagery. It's limitless, virtually. One of the things Esri's recognised is there's a lot of data sources out there, and how you work with those data sources vary depending on the types of data source you're going to work with. So they've written recently a whole series of image management guidelines, and you can see the URL there. Accompanying those image management guidelines, there is also a series of ArcGIS Online scripts and Mosaic data scripts that help you. So for example, LiDAR, there's a certain way of loading a large amount of LiDAR. If you have satellite imagery, say from Airbus, then there's a certain way you actually load that Airbus data to optimise its display and its performance. What I'm seeing a lot now, and from a lot of government organisations and also mining companies and people who deal with big imagery, is they're starting now to move into the cloud space. One of the things we see with cloud is we've heard a lot about AWS S3 storage, which is their slow, very cheap storage, and Azure's blob storage, is that in these spaces, it is actually slow to get imagery out. So what Esri's done is worked out a way. They got together with NOAA, and they developed a format called MRF. And this allows us to store very, very large amounts of data and put them into those slower storage spaces, but access them dynamically and pull them out very quickly. We even now store our caches of our image services in those spaces as well, and then access those really quickly. Wonder what that is. And again, okay. I don't know. Keep going. And what we're seeing is a lot of government organisations are starting to look at this optimised rasters tool set to be able to serve large data sets to people inside their organisation, but also out to the general public as well. The Landsat service that Esri we're going to see in a short while is actually stored in that format, and it's over 600 terabytes worth of imagery get in there. Every day, there is another 850 megabytes worth of imagery put into that, not 850 megabytes, there is actually 500 scenes, each one is 850 megabytes that is put into that service every day, captured, and they're freely made public, and we're going to see that in a little while. When we brought out ArcGIS 10.5, we made this new product called the Raster Analytics. Now, when I started working with the imagery products 9 years ago now, we had a product called Image Server, and that was where Mosaic datasets came from. About 6 years ago, we changed the name to Image Extension, and we re-engineered the way the product worked at version 10. Now we've gone back to Image Server again. The subtle difference now with Image Server is that it is designed to actually work with large data sets and work distributedly across vast amounts of servers. You can take image processing capabilities now, something that would take you, say, 9 hours in the desktop can be done in 5 minutes. The example is basically America. They did the whole of the United States through 4 image data sets, and were able to process what was 2 days worth of work down into 7.5 minutes by using this new raster analytics technology. The good thing with the raster analytics is you make data and then you produce the results at the end, and then you can make them shareable through your portal. This whole concept of an enterprise GIS is now starting to come through to the fore, because you go from Pro and you'll farm that off to the enterprise GIS and then make it available to your organisation. So let's go and have a look then at ArcGIS Pro and what it's capable of doing. One of the key things that we've been saying with ArcGIS Pro is that it's web service ready. So this particular data set here, this is the imagery base map. And I'm just panning around that. Like say go down to Melbourne down here, or Sydney over here. There's Sydney, it's coming across my wireless, it's a little bit slow. But basically what it allows us to do, and Brisbane's being a bit slow as well. We can see virtually any imagery in the background through the web services. If I was to do the same sort of thing in my ArcMap environment, I get this kind of thing happening. Yeah. Okay. Can't get rid of that this time. Okay. So, what does this mean? So everything's web service enabled. So therefore, I'm able to start work with these data sets and move around and pan around inside these environments very quickly and very easily. So I want to start doing some image analysis. Here I have a Landsat scene over South Australia. When you get satellite imagery, one of the first things you want to be able to do is literally take away that black padding you see around the outside. Simply selecting, it removes that information around the back. The next thing you like to do is, being a satellite image, you want to be able to understand different band combinations and different ways of viewing this data set. Very quickly, we're looking at 850 megs worth of data here. I'm able to change that by using the different band combinations and the different stretches. It understands the Landsat scene and allows us to view that in any way or form. Now, I happen to notice that there's something peculiar going on in this space here. So let's just go and have a look in that. I can see there's sort of what might have been a bushfire or something like that. And you may have remembered Simon did something about, showed you a raster function earlier on that had fairly complicated model with it. First thing I'd like to do with this is let's go and just clip out this image. So I'm just going to go and go to my image tab here. I'm just going to clip out an extent. And that's done it for me. And now I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, and you can see that's the extent of the image. It's just quickly clipped it out. Now what I want to do is perform an analysis to actually find this burn scar a bit better. So I'm going to go in, get my indices, and I happen to know to do fire scar burning in Landsat, you just choose bands 6 and 7, and away it goes. Very quickly now I'm able to see that fire scar and understand exactly where it is. Now I'm a GIS analyst, so what I want to do is take advantage of this, and I'd like to bring it back as a vector data set. So the first thing to do something like that is I go in and do some classification. So I'm going to go in and classify this particular image. I'm just going to do what we call our unsupervised classification and divide this up into a number of unique classes. And we'll just run that off now. And that's going to go away, take that image, and my final game is I really want to be able to get this as a vector. So it's going to quickly classify that image up into the classes, run through the process, and then I'll be able to view that and then do the extraction into a vector data set. It's quite quick inside this ArcGIS Pro space to be able to do that. There it goes. And it's now going to give us a result there. It's now given us the extent. And you go, okay. Well, to extract that, I can see very clearly that the fire scar is item 1 here. So if I go into my analysis toolsets now, using my raster polygon, let's just say we'll take that classified image and we'll now just extract this out using the class name. Well, let's run that. Goes through. Now, I took originally an 850 meg Landsat data set, and I'm starting to do this kind of level of processing quickly and easily on the fly. In my days when I started out doing image processing, something like this that I'm doing here would have been about 3 or 4 hours work. The last thing I'd like to do is then just to be able to visualize this, so we can just go into this data set here, perform a definition query, and just say I want to see level 1 stuff, and let's go and view that. I've now got that as a vector data set that I can extract out and start to utilize in different environments. Now, I really was going to show you that geo-registration stuff, but Simon needed something to show in the plenary that was going to outdo Celine. So I guess, well, you can have that piece and you can take that away. So I'm going to skip this little tab across the top here now, because he's already shown you that piece. But what I want to talk about now is the mosaic data set. If I go in, everything I've shown you up until this point has actually been on a single image. Now I'm going to go and grab my mosaic data set that's sitting inside a database down here. So if I come in, let's just turn that one off a tick. And I'll grab that and you'll bring it in. And this is actually 36 images that you can see there over the city of Adelaide, defined by those green extents. Each one of those images is an individual image stored on the disk. But because this is a mosaic data set, I'm able to zoom in on that and visualize it pretty quickly. What we can apply with a mosaic data set is we can have a series of functions associated with that as well. If I have this as an image service, I want to share it as an image service, I simply go into the mosaic data set here and I just share this as a web layer, and that will take it out as an image service for me. What I'm able to do once that's loaded as an image service, I'm then able to take that and start to do things like looking at the processing templates. Now, when I make an image service, I can apply various image processing templates, and you can see now I'm seeing that as grayscale. Or even more, if I zoom in on this a little bit, I might want to have a blurring process that goes on that, and you can see very quickly now I'm able to apply a different process on that. Think about it a moment. I'm only doing this on a small data set. What if I wanted to do this on, say, the entire Landsat data set? Now, what I've done is I've just gone in and I've loaded my Landsat scene, and that's just going out on the internet and reading the Landsat scene for me, and I'm able to perform some analysis on that. So, where's it gone? Let's just zoom out a little bit more. And it's not displaying it. Oh, let's zoom to a different area, and we'll keep going. So what I'm going to go now is just zoom into an area around here, and what I want to be able to do with my Landsat data is to be able to visualize it with various processing templates. So let's just select this guy, and we'll have a look. And you see with this, it's a very large amount of processing templates that come with that Landsat data set. Okay. So what's Esri doing with the imagery product in the future? Well, I've had a lot of requests in the last couple of years to be able to stereo heads-up digitizing with the shutter glasses. What that actually means is that Esri is going to produce a product that we can be able to do the stereo feature capture analysis work. At 1.2, they actually put the stereo capabilities into the ArcGIS Pro product for us, so we can start to look at the imagery in that anaglyph format that you see there up on the screen, as well as with shutter glasses. FMV is a product that they've got currently in the ArcMap space right now, but they're going to also make FMV available inside the ArcGIS Image Analyst extension. FMV is basically for the military drones, where you have the ability to actually watch and see what's going on the screen from drones. Also, we're going to have some advanced analytics capabilities come inside the ArcGIS Pro space, and the ability to take that oblique imagery and visualize that in that space as well. It's a new product. It is a premium product that's coming later in the year. So really, ArcGIS has evolved as an imagery platform. I wasn't able to show you the piece that I wanted to show you there about with that Landsat data, you can extract a piece out of that 650 terabytes and produce it and use it on your platform and distribute it out. But it's really an enterprise tool set right now. ArcGIS Pro can consume imagery from many different sources and perform analysis against it. And one of the keys is you can store massive amounts of data. It doesn't matter where the data is stored, it doesn't matter how big the data is, it doesn't matter about the resolution. You can mix all of those together, bring them into a mosaic data set, and publish it out to your organisation. That's what the Landsat data set is, and that's what a lot of our government organisations are starting to do now. And with the distributed processing, we can produce results in shorter amount of time that we were never able to do before. So in this solution mix that you saw there, we saw the ArcGIS Pro and the ArcGIS Enterprise for the web services. And I was trying to show you the image server piece, but anyway, we'll keep going. There are lots and lots of resources that are available out on the web right now. They've put a lot of effort into making the data, the information available. So things like being able to work with the imagery inside ArcGIS Pro, the workflows to go and get a lot of this imagery and bring it in, and the scripts. There's a lot of mosaic data scripts out there, Python scripts, that you can utilize in your ArcGIS Online space. And finally, using the cloud resources and bringing it into the imagery space, they're available for you on GitHub. Hopefully you saw that, you enjoyed that presentation, and I was able to give you some information about where the imagery is going inside the ArcGIS Pro and the platform space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gordon. Now again, we have time for just a couple of questions. Does anyone have a question for Gordon? Could you please raise your hand?
No? Well.
Hi, Gordon. I assume that you need to have 10 10.5.1 and all the latest versions and everything to do that publishing of the imagery from ArcGIS Pro?
No, it's to do the publishing from ArcGIS Pro. You just need Pro 1.4 and ArcGIS Server Enterprise 10.5 to be able to do that kind of publishing. If you're doing it anything time previous to that, you can use ArcMap, and ArcGIS 10.3.1 server will allow you to do those image service publishing capabilities. That's been around for a very long time. Image server's been in the product for an extremely long time as well. It's just they've re-engineered the way it works more than anything.
Any more questions?
Yes, one down here.
Often we're looking at land surface disturbance through historic aerial imagery. And so I was just wondering whether you could, through what you've just sort of described, quantitate that in a way to lead to a better description of the disturbance history of a piece of land.
Sorry, I don't actually understand the question.
I guess just looking at that mapping that you were doing with that fire scar got me thinking about like what disturbance a piece of land has gone through, which is going to affect what we're looking at, which is archaeological potential in the area as a result of cropping and those sort of activities. And so if you could look at the raster data in the aerial imageries and look at the evidence of cropping or whatever it may be that's occurred on a bit of land, whether you could map that disturbance rather than just describing it sort of observationally as we do.
Yeah, certainly you could take that, and there's various functions inside the raster analytics there that could help you do that. I just did a simple process there to do the fire scar, but you can look at the different band capabilities that are there, and you can draw out other aspects of the imagery as well. And so there are various tool sets there, and if you happen to have an algorithm that you use in your work, then you can use the Python scripts that are Python scripting capabilities, and you can then run that through the software as well. So ArcGIS Pro comes with its standard set, but you can certainly develop your own set of tool scripts to go in there as well. I think that answers what you're after. Okay.
One more question, last one. We good?
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Thanks, Gordon.
Thanks.